Imagine a financial river so vast it moves $7.5 trillion every single day, an ocean of cash flowing through complex channels connecting every country, every business, every individual. Now picture that river's channels quietly being redirected under the feet of the world's biggest players. This isn't the crypto hype you thought you knew. This is a true tectonic shift in global finance, passing mostly under the radar but ripping apart decades-old systems. If this is your first time here, I break down institutional-grade crypto opportunities with data-driven analysis that actually matters for long-term wealth building. Smash that like button if you want more content like this, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. Because what I'm about to show you might completely reshape your investment thesis. For nearly 3/4 of a century, the US dollar stood unchallenged as the linchpin of international commerce. Every oil contract, every international shipment, every cross-border payment rolled through American-dominated financial infrastructure. But here's the kicker, this dominance was never just about the greenback itself. It was about the entire payment ecosystem, notably the SWIFT messaging network that connects over 11,000 financial institutions across 200 countries. SWIFT became the invisible railroad tracks for trillions of dollars. Everything changed in February 2022, when the West froze $300 billion of Russia's foreign reserves and expelled Russian banks from SWIFT. That single decision shocked the financial world. It was a revelation. A single political directive could sever a country's access to global money flow. Suddenly, the fragility of the system was on full display. Now, what's often missed is that sanctions didn't cause a catastrophic economic collapse for Russia. Instead, they accelerated a permanent fracture in the global financial system. Countries outside the traditional Western-aligned order began urgently seeking alternatives to avoid such vulnerabilities. China, India, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia spearheaded an explosive movement to build payment networks independent of the dollar system. This is where Ripple's XRP and Stellar's XLM step onto the world stage not as speculative assets, but as purpose-built infrastructure solutions ready to underpin a multipolar financial world. The backbone of the money game, infrastructure, not currency. You might be thinking, isn't crypto just digital coins? Nope. The dollar's supremacy doesn't rest only on its status as a reserve currency. It comes from the entire payment architecture, the pipes moving money globally. SWIFT is to global payments what the internet backbone is to data. It moves everything. But SWIFT is slow and expensive. On average, a SWIFT transfer takes from 1 to 4 days to complete. Fees? They range from $26 to sometimes over $50 per transfer. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Many countries pay fees upwards of 7% for low-income corridors, with hidden costs pushing that even higher. Think about your last international payment or remittance. Did you know that the World Bank data shows average remittance costs worldwide stuck well over 6%, and in some parts of Africa, it spikes beyond 8%? If you're an immigrant supporting family, this means thousands lost every year just in fees. Then comes Russia's elimination from SWIFT, a move estimated to have cut into roughly $700 to $800 billion in yearly transactions that depended on the system. It was a stark demonstration. Geopolitical control over payment rails mean control over who can trade and who can't. The race for monetary sovereignty ignites. If you think the dollar system crack was just a one-off, think bigger. Emerging powers race to build their own rails. China's cross-border interbank payment system, CIPS, is no experiment. In 2024, it processed over 175 trillion yuan, about $24.5 trillion in transactions, growing 42.6% year-on-year. Russia's SPFS network connects over 550 institutions across 24 countries, providing a SWIFT alternative that's expanding rapidly. These financial platforms are more than stopgaps. They represent the tectonic plates shifting beneath the global economy. BRICS nations are at the forefront, forging plans for BRICS Pay, a crypto and CBDC-powered cross-border payment network, linking disparate national systems like UPI, PIX, SPFS, and CIPS. This is a declaration of monetary independence, a bold pivot away from dollar hegemony. Countries involved are now settling billions of dollars in their local currencies. For instance, Russia and India's trade volume hit $70.6 billion in 2024, with over 90% settled in rubles and rupees, a five-fold increase since 2021. Payments between two giants now complete in about 2 hours, virtually as fast as domestic transactions. These advances represent a formidable challenge to the existing financial order. Remember, this isn't just tech, it's deeper geopolitical strategy. Digital currency 2. The CBDC revolution. Central bank digital currencies are the new frontier of monetary sovereignty. China's digital yuan is already live in over 25 cities, with more than 2.25 billion digital wallets and explosive growth, doubling transaction volume to $2 trillion within 14 months. Russia's digital ruble is not far behind, moving from pilot programs involving hundreds of banks and thousands of businesses into planned mass rollout by mid-2025. Yet, here's the million-dollar question. These national CBDCs are largely domestic. Without interoperable rails, they remain islands. That's the natural opening for blockchain networks like Ripple's XRP and Stellar's XLM, designed as neutral bridge currencies capable of instant cross-border settlement. XRP and Stellar Banking's Quantum Leap institutional research shows XRP settles in 3 to 5 seconds, processing 1,500 transactions per second, over 200 times faster than SWIFT. Fees? An average $0.0002 per transaction. Meanwhile, SWIFT's fees average $26 to $50 per transfer. Then consider Ripple's on-demand liquidity, ODL. It frees billions of dollars previously locked in pre-funded nostril accounts capital, sitting around in foreign banks earning near zero while risking FX volatility and other risks. ODL has saved users more than $550 million and reduced operational costs by 45% in 2025 alone. RippleNet, the institutional network built on XRP, has grown to over 300 financial partners in 110 countries, including heavy hitters like SBI Holdings in Japan, Santander, Standard Chartered, and PNC Bank. For example, in 2024 alone, RippleNet processed $2 billion in transactions between the US and Mexico. Stellar's Lumen's XLM complements this with a focus on retail remittances and stablecoins. Its partnership with MoneyGram spans over 300,000 agents worldwide, enabling seamless cash to crypto and crypto to cash corridors, crucial for expanding financial inclusion. Expanding financial access at the grassroots. What makes Stellar's approach so powerful is its mission-driven focus on inclusivity. And you guys, I have a special trick for you which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BuyDefi exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus, and now stay with me here. Now, here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange, and you move it to your newly created BuyDefi account, you get on top of your capital. You moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, if you move or deposit $10,000 to your account, you get a $1,000 for free. And here is why this is possible. BuyDefi makes money on trading fees. The more capital you have, the more you trade. The more you trade, the more they earn. So they're literally investing in your trading activity by giving you extra capital up front. And unlike other platforms where bonuses are in the 1 to 3% range, BuyDefi's bonus is a full 10%. I am not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody is doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I kindly ask you to pause this video and take your time to make an account. You can thank me later in the description of this video. Alright, let's jump back into the video. Unlike many blockchains that cater primarily to institutional players, Stellar's architecture is optimized to empower the unbanked and underbanked populations around the globe. Picture small business owners in sub-Saharan Africa finally receiving instant, low-cost payments from diaspora communities abroad, payments that previously took days and drained precious funds in fees. Thanks to Stellar's integration with Circle's USDC stablecoin, users can convert fiat cash into digital dollars instantly through MoneyGram's global agent network, which spans over 300,000 locations. At the heart of Stellar's design is the Stellar Consensus Protocol, SCP, which fosters decentralization, transparency, and remarkable energy efficiency compared to traditional proof-of-work blockchains. Validators are publicly identified, enhancing network security and trust-critical features for gaining institutional and regulatory acceptance. Transactions on Stellar settle in roughly 5 to 10 seconds at cost as low as fractions of a cent, enabling micro and macro payments alike. The institutional surge, XRP's rising momentum. Meanwhile, Ripple's XRP ledger is becoming a cornerstone for institutional payment optimization. In 2025, XRP futures contracts on CME Group achieved record open interest, with institutional participation growing rapidly. These contracts enable investors to hedge exposure and speculate on XRP price movements through regulated instruments, helping to boost liquidity and market depth. RippleNet's on-demand liquidity cuts treasury costs dramatically by eliminating the need to pre-fund Nostro accounts, which traditionally lock billions of dollars as idle capital across jurisdictions. By dynamically sourcing liquidity through XRP conversion, banks save nearly half their operational expenses, translating into hundreds of millions in annual savings. RippleNet expanded its reach to over 300 financial institutions globally in 2025, including major banks like Santander and SBI Holdings, facilitating billions in real-time cross-border payments. One striking example: in Latin America, RippleNet opened new payment corridors across Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. This expansion slashed settlement times from days to seconds while reducing costs by over 60%. For SMEs and large corporations alike, this shift represents a competitive advantage and a redefinition of global trade liquidity. Real-world impact: money moving faster, cheaper, safer. Think about the impact on a garment exporter in Southeast Asia or an agricultural cooperative in Latin America. Faster payments mean working capital freed for investment. Lower fees translate to higher margins. And the transparency blockchain provides reduces fraud and builds trust across trading partners. This isn't theoretical, it's everyday business already transformed by XRP and Stellar. Tech meets geopolitics, CBDCs, and the blockchain bridge. At an even bigger scale, the rise of sovereign digital currencies compels interoperable systems to weave them together. China's ECNY, with its explosive growth to 2.25 billion wallets and $2 trillion transacted, reflects a massive rollout unmatched globally. Russia's digital ruble pilot, involving thousands of banks and businesses, prepares for a comparable launch. But national CBDCs without bridges are like isolated chains. Bridging disparate CBDC systems to enable cross-border settlements calls for neutral, programmable, decentralized rails. This is Ripple and Stellar's sweet spot, offering ISO 20022 compliant, regulatory-ready protocols that central banks and financial institutions trust for interoperability and liquidity sourcing. BRICS-Pay, a blockchain-powered payments network promoted by emerging economies, embodies this new multipolar architecture, aiming to seamlessly interconnect domestic payment platforms like SPFS, SIPS, UPI, and PIX with decentralized digital assets acting as bridges. Tokenization, expanding blockchain's footprint beyond payments. Beyond payments, XRP and Stellar-led ecosystems power a surge in tokenized real-world asset markets. By October 2025, institutional investment in tokenized assets on these networks reached $33 billion and growing, including real estate, private equity, and carbon credits. Tokenization unlocks liquidity trapped in traditionally illiquid assets by fractionalizing ownership into tradable digital tokens. This democratizes investment and streamlines settlement processes, from real estate deals closing in days to carbon credit trading, enhancing emission reduction markets. Financial institutions like BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs are pioneering these products, often leveraging the security and interoperability of XRP and Stellar chains to lower transaction risk and enable real-time reporting, another pillar of the evolving financial infrastructure. Rapid regulatory evolution spurs wider adoption. Institutional adoption sits on regulatory clarity. The 2025 legal resolution between Ripple and the U.S. SEC radically changed the game, with XRP no longer classified as a security in secondary market transactions. This triggered a 200% surge in trading volume and a remarkable price rally. Globally, regulatory frameworks have matured. Japan's 2025 Payment Services Act supports stablecoins and crypto assets for payments. The EU's MiCA regulation enforces transparency and anti-money laundering standards. And the UAE fosters a crypto-friendly environment, accelerating adoption in the Middle East. Why this matters to you as an investor or business leader. Imagine a future where your bank settlement with a partner in Asia happens in seconds, a fraction of a cent in fees, with transparent audit trails, where global trade financing is faster, cheaper, and less prone to risk. Holding XRP or XLM today means owning a piece of this financial future. These aren't speculative tokens anymore. They're infrastructural assets tied to trillions in underlying transaction volume and growing institutional liquidity. If blockchain truly powers a new financial internet, then XRP and Stellar's platforms are its critical highways, and early participants stand to gain substantially. The grand synthesis: future-proofing global finance. We are witnessing the birth of a new global financial order. Blockchain-powered networks like RippleNet and Stellar's ecosystem stand at the center, bridging sovereign digital currencies, stablecoins, and traditional fiat systems. The economic tectonics are irreversible. Sanctions and geopolitical tension accelerate adoption. CBDCs globally are advancing simultaneously, yet without interoperable bridges, financial isolation risks persist. XRP and XLM build those bridges fast, neutral, compliant, and programmable. Final call to action. This revolution is not on the horizon, it's here now. Traditional payment rails crack under pressure. Decentralized networks rise to meet the demand. If you want to stay ahead, understand this transformation, and position yourself wisely, smash that like button, drop a comment with "Ready for the Shift," and subscribe to dive deep into the foundations of the future's financial infrastructure.